Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to episode 239 of the Sticks and the Six podcast. As always, I'm your host, Andrew Forbes, here with my co-host, Peter Barricchini. And Peter, we got a lot to talk about. Trip down to Buffalo, my yearly trip down to Buffalo to see the NHL Combine, see the prospects, get a feel for who teams will be drafting, what the guys are like, all that fun stuff down at the Lacombe Harbor Center with obviously our colleague Mark Shegg. But before we get into all of that fun talk, a lot of Stanley Cup final talk, some Leaf talk, how you doing this week?
Doing great, man. Yeah, again, fortunately, I wasn't able to make it down for the trip in Buffalo this year. Hopefully next year is a little bit of a different story or different scenario that'll play out. Really do miss chatting it up with you guys down, talk about the prospects and everything. And I know we're going to talk about that with the Maple Leafs because you got a lot of info and you helped me out with one of my posts too with the Maple Leafs. So thank you for a little bit of some of that insider info with the defensemen that they talked to, especially a lot of the names that could be had with the second or third round pick. That to me is going to be really interesting. But yeah, I'm doing good. I actually made it down for my first Jays game recently, and it was against the Philadelphia Phillies, against Christopher Sanchez. Man, that guy is worth the price of admission. I know we were there trying to cheer on the Jays. I know, it's a rough year. I know Vladdy isn't doing well. I probably was in attendance for his worst possible game ever, as for the amount of games that I've seen Vladdy play. That was the downside, but the upside was seeing Sanchez pitch. Man, that guy has great command and everything like that. If you ever get a chance to see him play, or if he's going to be in that starting rotation for that series, I'd recommend that. That dude is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of fun talk as we get into the heart of the baseball season. There's still a lot of hockey talk going on as well, and
news is flowing out even today too about Babcock, about everything right now, man.
I know.
I don't know if we're going to touch up on Babcock because we've had enough to say about him. But
maybe we'll wait till it actually happens before it all unfolds here. But as our TikTok following over here, Liv hammers that like button. She brings up a great point and a reminder that this week we also saw Dylan Larkin requesting a trade out of Detroit.
That came out of nowhere.
I wanted to get your opinion on this before we get into all of our Leaf talk, because the Dylan Larkin situation is interesting. I mean, we talk so often about players with no trade clauses, their ability to kind of squash any trade. We saw it with Mitch Marner and the Carolina Hurricanes, which, funny enough, they're now playing in the Stanley Cup final against each other. I'm curious as to what you think regarding, if a player has a no trade clause and then goes and requests a trade, whether they should nullify the no trade clause. And I'm curious because it's a topic that's been brought up quite a bit on socials lately, that given that a team cannot trade you with your no trade clause, how do you feel? And I will note this. The one thing I did see was that they said that what Steve Yzerman's plan should be, or his course of action should be, look around, see what trade opportunities are out there, present them to Dylan Larkin, and even if they're not Minnesota, Vegas, and Florida, which he's requested, that's kind of where you leave it. And if he doesn't want to play for those teams, then you kind of, you're SOL. I want to get your opinion on all of that.
Yeah, to me, again, players get that because they want the security. They don't want to leave. They don't want to go. But this is a different circumstance with Dylan Larkin because of how long it has been between playoff appearances for him. I think the first time he got in was, his rookie season when Detroit, I think, lost in the first round. That was the only sniff of the playoffs that he had. And I can understand the frustration that he's going with right now where, you probably had something good last year. Yzerman really hasn't pushed the needle and trying to make this team a little bit more competitive. And to me, this falls on more Yzerman than it is for Larkin and everybody else. But I feel like it's gotten to that boiling point where he's just had enough. He wants to go out. He wants to win. But I think the fact that 2 of the 3 teams are the last 2 ones to make the Stanley Cup finals, that to me is a little bit of a recency bias thing. I want to know how many teams. I mean, basically it is a free-for-all. because he does have a full no move clause, and he could easily say, I want out, I'm done, ship me, I don't care where I am going to waive it. And he could probably take the best move possible, but also if he has a list of those three teams, he could easily ship them the other way and be like, I like this package more than I have liked, Vegas, Florida, or Minnesota's for that matter. It falls on Yzerman, but then again, at the same time, too, you agreed to this. You should honor this and play it out. And because you have a full no move clause, I don't care. I'm not going to do anything. So I can hear the argument on both sides for both Larkin and both Yzerman, where, yeah, Larkin wants to win right now. He's in his 30s. And yeah, he probably wants to go on and play with some of his U.S. teammates. Understandable. But I just find it very interesting that it's the last two teams in Vegas and Florida that are up there right now. Probably going to be other teams. I just think all the other 31 teams should be involved because it's basically wherever he wants to go. Or Yzerman says, "Yep, you're waiving your no move clause. Fine. Now I could probably get to pick your destination." But also, an Yzerman standpoint, he could easily just say, "Screw you, play it out." If you want to move on from this, don't just give me these three teams. Give me more to work with. Play it out. Go and play and hit the ice and do your job. And I kind of feel I'm leaning a little bit more to Yzerman's standpoint in the GM and wanting to be like, okay, cool. Yeah, go out there. I don't care. You agree to this kind of thing. You wanted the security. But then again, the player wants to waive it. Understandable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what I'm kind of getting at is like when you have a no trade clause, what happens is you've locked up a team from any sort of movement, and that's fair. Like we've talked about it before, players have earned that. That's not the conversation. The conversation becomes, when a player decides that all of a sudden they want out and they have a no trade clause, and now they have the ability to kind of pick and choose which teams. It's crippling to the team once again. So in a sense, like the teams lose out, and again, it's the teams that decide to give out these no trade clauses. So in that sense, like you're kind of binding yourself at that point, anyways. But at the same time, it's when there's a no trade clause and a player requests a trade, I feel like there should be some sort of nullification, like almost like, hey, you know what? Instead of a full no trade clause, there's they have the opportunity to trade you to 20 different teams to kind of like play back on that whole idea of like you committed to this, now you want out. Well, it doesn't exactly work that way. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that in the sense because I'm not trying to draw comparisons to the whole Dougie Hamilton thing, but he came out flat saying that he's willing to waive his no move clause to move on because the Devils were in a difficult spot. But at least he showed with his play that he was able to rebound. So now the Devils have something to work with in terms of getting assets back. Now, all of a sudden, with Detroit, if you're being handcuffed with only three teams, two of which barely have any assets whatsoever to try and trade you because Vegas and Florida are probably going to have to offer up a lot of roster pieces themselves. So you're probably looking at, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, like maybe Barbashev or Dorofeyev from Vegas for Larkin as part of a deal. Maybe you're looking at Anton Lundell in Florida if you're looking to move on from a second center. Then you can have Barkov Larkin 1-2 right there. It's really insane how Yzerman is going to be handcuffed. And I think, and it's funny too, because I was searching up a tweet. I know this was a perfect explanation for this. So it's Down Goes Brown. Oh, you won out so badly that you gave us three whole teams, two of which already win all the cups, plus one with no assets left, meaning, going back and forth between, Vegas and Florida, to make a decent offer. Cool. You have 5 years left on your contract. See you at practice. I can understand that because this just comes out of the blue and very abrupt. And I think everyone on both sides are upset that it got out to this point. But what Yzerman has done, or the Yzer plan, I think it's a little bit more disappointing than what we as Toronto fans have seen with the Shanna plan. At least the Maple Leafs have made the made playoffs every single year, despite disappointing results. But at least we saw something. Yzerman hasn't done anything for Detroit right now, and I could understand Larkin's frustration.
Yeah, Liv's jumped over from TikTok onto our YouTube channel here, so welcome, Liv. It's I agree in a sense, but at the same time, let's not forget that when Yzerman left Tampa Bay and Brisebois came in, that's when the team started winning, and it was Yzerman's.
already architected by that.
It was already architected. So I say, like with Detroit, the way it was, you got to give him some time. But at the same time,
he's had enough time.
Yeah, but I mean, for Larkin, one of the other things I saw was that when you get these offers from teams that he is not okayed in his no trade clause, you start to play the same game, right? If you're Yzerman, maybe you publicize, yeah, we got this great offer from, I don't know, let's say Utah. Utah made this great offer to land Larkin. These are the assets they offered. He said no. All of a sudden, you've got a fan base that's also turning on the player who has ultimately made that commitment to this franchise and now wants out. So this is where it can get a little bit more tricky, a little bit more fun, and a little bit of there's a little bit of play at within this situation, right? So it'll be interesting to see where it goes, though. Two no-tax states we should mention, right? Vegas and Florida, two no-tax states. The conversation comes up again. We haven't even finished the 25-26 season.
I want to get your take. And I've had this conversation quite a bit with a lot of people that Matthew Knies, you know how his name's still coming up in the rumor mill after that, Axe trade at 301 for like Zarowski, Haig, or whatever. I probably wouldn't have done that move anyways. And it's a good thing that Tree didn't. Otherwise, he would have got fired if he made that move right then and there. Would you do or involve Matthew Knies in a trade for Dylan Larkin?
No.
Interesting.
And not because I don't think Larkin's a solid player. We all remember the hate the shade I threw at William Nylander for the first number of years of his career, where he just could not get past that 69-point pace. And all of a sudden, you're talking about a 40-goal scorer. And I'm not sitting here saying Matthew Knies is going to be a 40-goal scorer, but he's going to be an incredible power forward in this league. And why would you give up on a 20-something-year-old to go out and land a guy who ultimately has wanted out of the situation that he's in?
Yeah.
I just, like, you want people who want to be there. Matthew Knies proved when he signed his last contract that he wanted to be with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Absolutely.
Why would you go out and move that guy? That to me does not make sense.
Just found it a little interesting too, because you know how there was also that CJ report how teams valued Knies with if they wanted him, it would be like this plus. Yeah. What if you got Dylan Larkin, possibly Axel Sandin Pellikka? Maybe a little more for Matthew Knies, given the contract, given the value, given the upside. I agree. I probably would not move him, but that does sound kind of enticing if teams are willing to pay an absolute premium for him.
For sure. An absolute and a good take here too.
And that is, yeah. They don't need wingers. That's the thing.
Is what Detroit needs right now.
Yeah.
I tend to agree.
Yep.
Gary, longtime viewer as well. Knies is a unicorn at 24 years old. That's the guy everyone is trying to draft or trade for. 100%.
Heart and soul.
Reminds me a lot of Ethan Belchet's in this draft. The way that he can play.
Good comparison.
The offense, the skill, the big size, the physicality. So he's going to be a guy that I think Ethan Belches right now. A lot of people have him outside the top 10. He's a guy that could be a sneaky top 10 pick in that 9 or 10 spot. So,
and that kind of seems like a fair comparable for Belches right now, Matthew Knies-esque.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
And a high end if you can get to the Tom Wilson level, right? Like that's today's ultimate power forward is a Tom Wilson. So something to keep in mind. We obviously will keep an eye on this Dylan Larkin news. If anything breaks over the next little while, we will certainly have a video up, I'm sure, talking about it. Jumping over to other news though, some breaking news. Well, not breaking news. Some historical news coming out of the OHL again, as the Brantford Bulldogs drafted the second ever female player into the Ontario Hockey League at the U18 draft. She's the first female to be drafted at the U18 draft. And coming out of Toronto, obviously, Sophie Jovanovic. So 40th overall on Monday. That's fairly high considering.
Very high.
Considering what is available, I think it's a huge move by Brantford. Brantford, a team obviously that's having success in the OHL over the last number of seasons, and really just another great story. And hopefully we see some progress in terms of like getting her into the league and getting her to play some games. But
The quality
goaltending
aspect, yeah.
goaltending is going to be tough because it's one or two goalies per team. So it'll be interesting to watch. But again, we will update you as that story continues to take fold. I did mention to you I wanted to kind of squash something right off the top of this show.
Oh yes, your monologue.
And I want to make it very clear, okay? Because we've had this conversation all season long. I'm growing extremely tired of this conversation, and it's one thing that Sid Sixero said on his recent podcast where he said, don't let people from outside the Toronto market make you feel shitty for remembering what Mitch Marner was in Toronto.
Absolutely. I don't agree with him a lot of the time, but he's absolutely bang on there. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't let people look at it now and say, look what he's doing in Vegas. This was the same player in Toronto, because it wasn't. And Jackie Redmond on the Leafs Morning Take had a great rant, and it was fantastic.
Fantastic.
If you haven't seen it, go check out Leafs Morning Take with Alberga and Jay Rosehill, and you'll get a sense for like this narrative of like Toronto fans walked him out of the city needs to go. Like it needs to be gone, right?
Yeah.
And I hope I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that I hope Marner does get a cup at some point, because he's a top 15 player in this league. He deserves to be recognized. He's having a hell of a run, and if he wins this year and he gets the Conn Smythe, then so be it. I've made peace with that.
Yeah.
I'm settled with that. Right?
We've come to grips with that.
Yeah, I mean, it only took like months and months of therapy to get over Mitch Marner. No, I'm kidding.
I was about to say, you could have been that fan going for that therapy trip to Vegas.
Yeah, I don't think I would have spent that kind of money. I think my therapist already cost me a couple $100 every session. But anyways, what I will say is that the narrative, and I hope at some point over his 8-year run with the Vegas Golden Knights, that he comes out and he says, you know what, guys, I made a mistake. It was me who wanted out. It was me who wanted to change. It was me who couldn't do it in this market, and I'm okay admitting that. And the biggest thing is he should be okay admitting it. Not everybody's made for that market, and I want him to understand that, like, you did ruin a legacy here. I truly believe that legacy is forever ruined. At the same time, you have the chance to build a new legacy in Vegas, and part of that is being honest with yourself. And I think to go out and say that the Leafs and the Leafs organization and the Leafs fans ran you out of that city, I don't believe that for a second.
No.
Because if you go back and watch his speech prior to him signing, where he said, what was it? If I sign here, we're treated like gods or what have you. You didn't hear sincerity in his voice.
Yeah.
Right? There was no sincerity. He knew a long time ago that this was a possibility. And I'm not saying he knew where he was going. I'm not saying he knew what he wanted to do. I'm not saying, he knew for sure he was going to leave the Leafs, but he knew it was a possibility. And that's the part that pisses me off, is that there is the belief that he was searching for homes prior to the end of this season. Maybe it's not true, but he was talking to players about what life was like in Vegas. He was talking to other players about different markets. He was looking around. He closed the door on a potential $13 million contract from the Leafs, and never had that conversation. And I get the whole idea of not wanting to leave when your wife's pregnant at the deadline.
Yeah.
I totally abide by that. That's fine. I don't hold that against him. I also know that if it meant what you said it meant to play in the market of Toronto, and the fact that you wanted to see that organization win a cup at some point, then you would have looked at it and you would have said, you know what, there's an opportunity for this team to move me, and I know I'm not coming back. What can we get done? The same way, and this is where I'll give credit. Matthew Tkachuk did that with Calgary.
Yeah.
And they got a decent haul. So in that, I hope that at some point down the road, he goes back and looks at himself and says, you know what? It was me who wanted out. I didn't want to be there. And I take full responsibility. And it's this whole idea of accountability in people these days. And he needs to have some.
don't feel like we will get that, though. I feel like there's
Oh, I
still
don't.
going to
I'm not
be
going to hold my
that
breath.
deflection in
Yeah.
saying that, you know what, I think we're still going to hear a lot of what he said in that interview with Mark Masters as well. But I do agree. I do hope that there's some accountability. And if he admits that he wanted out, great, because everyone is saying that every media fans ran Mitch Marner out of town. And again, I keep going back to this piece that Elliot Friedman wrote about the whole breakdown before Marner's first home game of where it went wrong kind of thing. It goes back to his ELC when he didn't get the bonuses. He still had that grudge. He held out against Kyle Dubas before his no movement clause kicked in and they had a chance to move him. That was at that point where everything kind of felt like things were starting to shift with Marner, where you had the guarantee from Matthews and Nylander, but not from Mitch. And at that point, Dubas, I'm pretty sure, would have gotten a premium deal for him, but he would not let that happen or couldn't do that because of Shanahan and his plan of wanting to keep everything together, run it back. But at some point, something's got to have to change. Then there was the whole thing where they wanted to still get a deal done. They still would have made a deal for Mitch Marner to re-sign him, making him the richest winger in the league. And he still said no. So the Maple Leafs were doing everything they can to keep him. Yes, there's a playoff history. There was, and I still go back to this one in Game 5. Marner coughs up the puck, backhand up the middle, leads to a goal against, yelling at the bench, trying to get them fired up when he doesn't even have an ounce of sweat on his face right there. It just shows that he was trying to do the right thing, but it was never working out. And I think the pressure got to him, which is fine. Like you said, some people aren't built for pressure, but then again, is that still kind of an excuse right now? We're hearing Gavin McKenna coming into a pressure-filled market, and he's like, you know what? I don't care what people think. That's exactly the kind of attitude we're hearing from Nylander right now, where he's going to play his game. And I know you want accountability. You want players to be at their best. But if someone like Gavin McKenna, an 18-year-old, comes in and he's holding his own with the media pressure, who's to say that Marner couldn't?
Yeah, no, and like I said, I'm not holding my breath. I'm not. I work with too many people that, you know, there's a lack of accountability and
Yeah.
you know, I don't have faith in the societal expectation of accountability anymore.
Deflect.
Deflection is going to be the, and maybe you know, maybe it comes down to like a retirement speech and saying, you know, I made a mistake or what have you. But my point is, the clowns on socials, and I know it's a lot of trolling, but there's people who legitimately think that Toronto ran this guy out of town.
No.
And it's time to wake the fuck up. Like, it's time to get your head out of your ass and focus on the fact that your narrative is a load of shit. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that I hope people realize. Leaf fan or not, you got to look at this from a different perspective and say, this guy was never going to do what he did in Vegas this year in Toronto.
Never.
Right? This guy was a glorified second line guy who should have been on the second line and is doing well in Vegas on the second line. Mm-hmm. But we were not going to pay the $12 million for a second line guy. Him and Matthews wanted to play together. No coach ever changed that. You know, there was just there and like Gary brings up a good thing here. If he wins the cup, we get to hear about the dark times. There's a part of me that hopes he wins the cup just because I want to hear about these dark times. I truly want to know, you know, and is this another deflection or is this him finally opening the door to maybe what happened behind the scenes that we don't know about? Yeah. And if it's going back all the way to Babcock, then okay, it's time to let it go.
Yeah,
it's time. If that's the case, it's time to let it go. Yeah. If it has to do with your ELC and your entry level contract, and that's what fizzled you out of Toronto, it's time to let it go. The point is, there is this whole situation, and including the narrative that people keep pushing on everybody. It's not a story of accountability. It's a story of deflection and, in a sense, deception, because you want to try and make everybody believe that you're the victim. And that narrative needs to go out the window. Anybody who posts that narrative, you know, you lose your integrity when it comes to me. I will never believe you have integrity anymore, because the way that you're trying to put this across and pin it on an entire fan base is absolutely fucking ridiculous. So that's kind of my piece there. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I love this. I love this. Liv, I'm a believer if you have something to say, say it. No if I win the cup leverage. If you
Yeah.
weren't going to say anything, it was best left unsaid instead of
Mm-hmm.
taunting it. A
Yep.
thousand percent,
Agreed.
a thousand percent, a thousand percent, a thousand times over. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like if it needs to be held at this like you're holding us hostage as like let me tell you what happened behind closed doors in Toronto
Only
only if I
if.
win the cup.
Yeah.
You know, what's the point of saying anything?
Mm-hmm.
You could have left it at nothing. And this goes back to his idea when he sat down with Mark Masters a month after leaving Toronto and saying, you know, like yeah, this is what was done to me, my family, and this and this and this. And I'm sitting here like you could have left and said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? You may have gained some respect back from a lot of the people that you lost it from.
You're making more of a spectacle than you already need to.
It's a show, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a show. Liv says it feels like an awkward PR stunt. I never agreed to.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about it, Liv, is that he's involving all of us in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like any person who wants to know what these dark times were all about, he's including us in this. Like, I feel like it's like a late afternoon soap opera that we're sitting down and watching. Like, I don't know, Passions. I don't know if you guys are old enough to know Passions, but something like that. You know, like Days of Our Lives and starring Mitch Marner. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm stuck on it, and I'm having a hard time with the people pushing that narrative, and it just doesn't sit well with me. He does lack sincerity. I've gone back and watched different interviews with him, and it just doesn't sit well.
Mm-hmm.
Liv, thanks again for jumping
Thanks for
in the
joining
chat.
in,
That's
yeah.
amazing. Appreciate your insight. Anyways, like I mentioned, we should say Stanley Cup is tied at 2-2. Bussy came in last night and had a hell of a game. Really emotional at the end with his parents there as well, flying down from the East Coast. So that was fun to watch. Word is Frederik Andersen just needed a little bit of time to just catch up with everything that has happened over the last little while. So absolutely, completely understand. Hopefully this goes the entirety, 7 games. Gary, Mitch Marner and Zeus versus the world. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. I like that. That should be the title. Anyways, in saying that, we have some Leaf talk. There's a lot of conversation around the Leafs coaching staff still right now, right? So the word is that the Leafs and John Chayka and Matt Sundin and probably Keith Pelly, let's be honest, he's got his fingers in there, have interviewed upwards of, did I see 55 candidates?
55, but now they have a short list. They have a short list of five
that they're doing in person with.
In person, yes. And I'm just gonna talk about the coaching like the whole carousel of like rumors, who's in, who's out, how at one point you're looking at David Carl, he's in it, then he's automatically out, which makes sense because he's got a nice life in Denver right there.
And there's some big prospects going down to Denver in the next little while.
Exactly.
I wouldn't leave either. I mean, Denver's a beautiful, beautiful city.
And why not get another chip out of it too, right? But yeah, it's just that even what's being reported right now, I don't even think the insiders have an idea of what's going on. Because even initially before when they fired Berube, they probably were going like a different direction of getting someone that doesn't quite have the experience as a head coach, outside of the box kind of thinking, which is why Carl fit the bill. But then they automatically go and change that, and then all of a sudden they're looking for guys with experience. They looked at Laviolette, and then he gets hired by LA.
Scooped up.
Patrick Roy is still in the mix. And to be honest, I pray to God that Patrick Roy is not the head coach, because with all due respect to both him and Laviolette, yeah, they got cups, but Patrick Roy has not had that great of a successful run as a head coach. Even last a little while with the New York Islanders, I haven't been a fan. Laviolette has been out of the game for a while. Again, you're regurgitating all these same guys right now in and out of the filter, and it's just, you know what? Even if it's someone like, I still hope that it's Jay Woodcroft, because he's still young, experience, both as a head coach and an assistant in Anaheim. I think he's the ideal fit. But still getting an outside the box kind of thinking is what did wonders for the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Colorado Avalanche. All these teams, right, or those two guys, and they have had success and have not left their original teams, and they're the longest tenured coaches right now.
I'll be honest with you, like it would feel so wrong to have Patrick Waugh as the coach.
Oh,
Just
you
from
know,
all of
Habs
his
fans are gonna be
all of his years with the Habs, it's just like it feels so
Yeah.
wrong to see like him behind the bench of like imagine searching
The other
pictures
rival
on
kind of
Google
thing.
of like Patrick Waugh, and all of a sudden you got him in a Habs jersey, and then him as a Leafs coach. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. But I'm curious because it's in the title of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of Joe Pavelski and
Out of nowhere, free from the top rope with that bomb.
But I love it.
I love it too.
I love this idea that Joe Pavelski, first time NHL coach, coming out of the woodworks, coaching junior, his son all of a sudden might get the chance to finish his minor league career in the GTHL. What a league that would be to get him in there, finish his development, be around all the eyes in the mecca of Toronto. And like, I don't know. It would change the whole perspective of this team, right? To get that, to not recycle a guy, to not bring in like a Laviolette, and nothing against Laviolette, but not to be the Edmonton Oilers and possibly hiring Mike Babcock, which again we'll hint at that and not really talk about it because why should we talk about it if it's not going to happen yet?
Investigation going on previously. What happened with Columbus?
I was still confused why McDavid and Draisaitl would approve that move, but anyways, that's besides the point. You've got we've got Joel Pavelski who, and I like this because he's not far removed from the game.
Yes,
he's not far removed, but from the game, and he's been around the young players of today where they need that little bit of more of like a pat on the back. Hey, you did a good job. Hey, let's look at it. Think of the guys he's played with, like the Wyatt Johnson and
Logan Stankoven for a brief period.
Maverick Bork within the organization. Miro Heiskanen was young when he came in. Like
even when he was with San Jose too, when Hurdle was still kind of young and moving up the ranks too, when he was already kind of like the savvy veteran of like 7, 8, 9 years kind of thing.
And that's so that to me and think about how badly this guy wants a cup. And I'm not saying don't jump down my throat. I'm not saying that the Leafs are going to go out and win a cup. I'm saying think about how badly this guy wants a cup.
Yeah.
To put him behind the bench with an organization and an American with a captain who's American and has received so much hate from this fan base at times. Imagine the drive that this guy's going to have to say, hey, we can do it.
Yeah.
We can go out there and do it. And I don't know. I just like there's something so intriguing about a name like Joe Pavelski, right? Like the guy is good at almost everything. And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we go back to the old boys club and we recycle that but I'm not settled on it. Gary over here says that the inside, you were right about the insiders. Berube was staying, according to them, less than a week before he was fired.
Backtracking right away. Yeah.
He also throws out maybe Pavelski as a potential assistant coach. I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like the assistant. I think if you're gonna do it, you go jump feet first and just go for it, right? Like get him in there, give him the opportunity, and what's the worst that's going to happen? You're gonna finish in the bottom 5 of the league. Guess what? It already happened.
Yeah, and it kind of gives off that vibe of Martin St. Louis with Montreal. 100%. No coaching experience, coaching, AAA level or junior hockey. Then he makes his way as a big jump. And let's not kid ourselves. St. Louis was out for the game for quite a longer period of time than Joe Pavelski at that point. Mm-hmm. He comes in and he works wonders with the team. Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and then he gets all this like bag of riches right there. Slavkovsky, Hudson, Jacob Fowler in net. He's got a lot of great talent at his disposal right
on the
now.
Back end.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing that right now, And again, it's that outside the box kind of view of thinking. This is a guy, and you perfectly. I was going to mention this too. He's not so far removed from the game. He like what, a year or two max.
Yeah.
That's a still great amount of period of time for him to be fresh and know how the game is played right now. He knows how to play that, not necessarily pesky style, but he's a guy that made a living in front of the net, deflecting pucks, being a menace in terms of being tenacious, winning battles, and all that. And he's on the smaller side too. Let's not kid ourselves, but at the same time, he was successful in doing that. If he's able to preach this new philosophy or new way of thinking, which certainly feels like the way the direction the Maple Leafs have been going ever since they hired John Chaika, why not do it with the coaching staff? And it's interesting to me too, because Jay Woodcroft is still available and could still be a possibility. I wonder if you see this as a tandem. Mm-hmm. And I do think it could still work out where maybe Jake Woodcroft does have a little bit more experience as a head coach. But if you bring on Pavelski, and I do love the idea as Pavelski as a head coach. I would jump at that at the first sight because I want to know what he's thinking. I want to know what he's going to do, how he's going to execute it, how he's going to talk to Matthews, Nylander, Cowan, Nyes, what his game plan is for the forwards and everybody else. Woodcroft, on the other hand, I saw something out there. Woodcroft was the one that helped develop Pavelski when he was in San Jose. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be great if Woodcroft maybe just has the little bit of that edge as a head coach and then Pavelski as the assistant where they could work and build off each other again? That to me would be an ideal situation. I would, to be honest, if it's either Pavelski or Woodcroft as the head coach, I don't mind it. But if you're able to get both, they had some good success in the early heydays or when San Jose was still successful at that point. So you know what? I'm not entirely knocking out the assistant role for Pavelski as well.
I think you go both ways though on it, right?
Like, you can. Absolutely.
If Woodcroft wants back in the NHL and you're dead set on a new face behind the bench in Pavelski,
he can give him the reins.
100%.
Yeah.
100% you can give him the reins. Gary says he thought the idea of UC
Ahokas, yeah. Apparently he didn't even have a chat with them.
Yeah, so out of 55 candidates, you think he might have gotten a chat, but that was unfortunately not the case. I'm sure at some point he'll be an NHL coach and
down the line, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll be discussing.
He's already got the accolades at junior.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that's where the coaching hunt stands right now. I will say at the Combine, you see some of the GMs sitting off the side. Mike Greer was there, obviously, for San Jose. He's been there the last, he's been there with 3 years, right?
He's been there consistently. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's made his presence known.
But sitting behind him on the stools, and you know where I'm talking about, overlooking the testing field there, was John Chaika. Mm-hmm. And he was adamantly involved in conversation after conversation after conversation with several other, whether they be scouts or other front office personnel, and very, very animated. So he's got an idea. He's got an idea. He knows what he wants to do. He's and I think all of that is going to start to play into where the Leafs go with this. And I mean, since we're on the topic, we might as well get into the Combine.
Yes.
There is speculation, and I'm going to say speculate because I
was about to say you were boots on the ground there. If you got the insider info, it would definitely be you right now.
There is some speculation, and this is also from talking with Ivar Stenberg as well. So Ivar Stenberg didn't have much to say about in regards to meeting with the Leafs. Mm-hmm. Even noted that he has not talked to Matt Sundin at all, which was interesting to me.
Given that Sundin was at the Worlds.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And now there's speculation coming out that during his interview with the Leafs at the Combine, Gavin McKenna was told, "We are taking you number one." Now, I don't have confirmation on that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend
it's already swirling right now.
Yeah. But it's swirling. It's out there. We got to talk about it. And realistically, from the conversations that we had with Gavin McKenna, with his consistent, I would love to play in a market with like Toronto. I don't mind dealing with the pressure. And I did talk to a lot of players that did interview with Toronto. what it would be like and how they would approach playing in a pressure cooker like Toronto. And outside of maybe one, the response was very consistent, and most of it was, "I don't care. I thrive on that." And the same message is coming out of Gavin McKenna, right?
Yeah.
Is that, Gavin McKenna is, and I don't know if you saw it, but I posted a picture of Gavin McKenna sitting after the testing, after the interviews, sitting by himself, hat on, hood up, just on his phone, right? Just being a kid. And that was interesting to me because I feel like this is a kid coming from, up north where
Whitehorse.
It might not be the same pressure cooker mentality as coming into the big smoke, right? And here he is just letting himself unwind.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what the market needs to, that's what a player in that market needs to do.
Laid back approach, but when it comes to game time.
Exactly. And he knows he can put his practice or his performance above all else and live that up. So I have a hard time believing that they're gonna go Chase Reed, because I mean, to leave a Gavin McKenna on the board,
you can't,
would make so many people sick. I think.
Yeah, you can't. He's got the highest ceiling of any player in this draft.
And there's a part of me. There's a part of me that believes that Ivar Stenberg could drop to 4 to Chicago.
Honestly, I did a mock draft where I had McKenna, Reed, Malhotra to Toronto, Sharks, and Canucks.
Yeah.
Mainly because this could be a draft where it's not a knock on Stenberg.
Nope, not at
for
all.
his play, but it's the positional need. And when are you going to find another right shot, impact two-way offensive defenseman like a Chase Reed? When are you going to find a potential impact two-way center that's in the mold, as Caleb Malhotra says, is like kind of like in the Patrice Bergeron mix, or how he likes to mold his game around for the Vancouver Canucks, where they don't have any prospects up the middle. It's not a knock on Stenberg. And even so, like, even if you look at other guys, Carson Carrolls, I think he's the most well-balanced defender, multi-knife kind of guy that could be used in any situations. It wouldn't surprise me if he jumps into the top 5 as well, and Stenberg jumps back a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I just had, I got this feeling Chase Reed, I mean, San Jose needs a stud defenseman. What better way to get that going with a Chase Reed added to a Will Smith, added to a Macklin Celebrini, added to a William Eklund, added to a Yaroslav Askarov. All of a sudden, you're talking about a market that,
you are.
I mean, why the hell would you not want to play?
Wait until he comes up.
Yeah, and then obviously the Malhotra combination in Vancouver would be interesting. I don't know what the maybe ethical view from an organizational standpoint would be on that, but
I mean, if LeBron could play with his kid, I think it's okay for Manny to coach his own kid.
Yeah, LeBron owns the NBA though.
Yeah, like he owns the NBA. Like, who are we kidding here?
Gary does say that Stenberg seems shaky and nervous in front of the camera. He was sick this week. He was sick this past week, which is why he didn't take part in the testing.
I will say with a lot of European players too, they are a little bit overwhelmed at times because of the spotlight, but it has no impact on their game whatsoever. Because it's a little bit more reserved media-wise overseas than it is here.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, like he actually seemed fairly relaxed. Like when we were asking about like Sundin and everything like that, and like what would it be like playing in Toronto and all this stuff. Like, he did seem unfazed in the sense that, like, you know, whatever, it is what it is. Like, where I go is where I go. I think I'm a great player. Like, there's a confidence that lies within him as well. And then Gary also said, I watched the doc on him. I'm assuming McKenna, and he does seem to worry about what people say about him.
He does, but he lets it talk on the ice.
I was gonna say, I think there's a difference between worrying about what they say and seeing what they say and using that and utilizing it. So it'd be interesting to see what he does. But I think, you know, if you go to a market like Toronto, you've got a guy like, I mean, William Nylander rides the subway into the games. Yeah. This has been my argument with Marner. This has been my argument with everybody. Like, you're a star in Toronto and you're riding the subway in. Like, That's the kind of mentality you have to have, and then let your performance do the talking on the ice, like you said. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. Like I said to you, and I know you wrote a piece about this at the Hockey Writers. The main focus was what are the Leafs going to do at 60 and 69.
Yes, and I want to give and I mentioned you in the post too. A big hat tip to you, because a lot of the names are some of the ones I have kept an eye on, but a lot of interesting ones as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was basically like every defensive prospect I got a chance to talk to, and like you know how busy the day is, but
yeah,
I think there was about, I want to say, the list I sent you, maybe 12 prospects that they had talked to, defensive prospects.
You sent a good like 6 or 8 there.
Yeah, so I think there's certainly names that are going to fall into that category where, at that 60 to 69 spot, it's going to be interesting to see if they go defensive. And I know I wrote about it last year. I thought they were going to go defense off the board first. They obviously went a different route. But I think in this second round, if they don't, they might even trade up, trade 60 and 69 to move up in the second round and land one of these defensive prospects. I know this is a projected first round pick, but Daxon Rudolph was a guy that said he had some conversations with the Leafs. There was a number of them heading to Toronto that night to have more of a conversation with Toronto. Some of them had already met, some of them hadn't. Dravecki's another guy that is certainly an interesting name on the board for Toronto.
Heard he interviewed. He had a really fantastic interview with every team.
Yeah, and he was very complimentary of how his interviews went as well. Bill brings up a good point too. Stenberg's first language isn't English. I will tell you though, he's an incredible English speaker. Like he did the interview very, very well. So that was a good point, Bill. But yeah, definitely something to think about as well. All in all, man, like the Combine was the Combine again this year. Like the physical testing, I know we look at. Gavin McKenna was the top performer out of all of them, which I think was expected. We talked about some of the interview questions. Obviously, Montreal was asking prospects to throw a brick in a garbage can. If you made it, great. If you didn't, they weren't going to draft you. I don't know if much truth there was to that.
I was about to say, man, some of the questions this year and some of the scenarios, it was next level ruthless.
Yeah.
Like gone are the questions. What kind of animal are you? Going back at teams are still going back looking at like bad shifts. What would you do different, kind of thing?
That was Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was all Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Before they even interviewed, they brought out tape of each player, and like that was a big question about how do you handle that? I want to say my interview of the day though had to have been Jackson Cover, London Knights. This guy was born in the Cayman Islands, played roller hockey, came to visit his grandpa in Etobicoke for 2 weeks a year, and would jump on and get going on the ice as well, and transfer that skill level over to the ice. And he, like, the line that really stuck with me is when I asked him about what the Hunters have done for him in London. His comment was, I'm just scraping the surface of what I can do. And that to me was a really that was a hitting point for me. Like I was like, this kid wants it. He's hungry.
Yeah. We talk about high ceiling players, and with raw talent, he's definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, 1,000%. But all in all, man, like the standouts, like I know you we always look for guys that stand out. I will say that the calmness of Dravecki was one thing that I really took note of. Ethan Belchitz, like I said, I just have this inkling, like if he doesn't go in the top 10, we're going to be talking about this guy like 5 years from now saying, why did so many teams pass on him? And I know he's still like, people have him ranked at like 12, 13, 14. I think I have him at like 13 or 14 in my latest rankings. I've got my final rankings coming out very, very shortly, as well as you. So, but he's a guy that stood out for me in a big way as well. Also, Carson Carroll's, man. This kid, okay, if you don't know this kid's story, he was talking to us about, like, he didn't do the testing. I think there was like an injury that he was kind of like
playoffs kind of thing.
Yeah. But he was like, guys, like, like, I think I can only stay here for like another day or so because I got to get back to the farm and help with all the duties on the farm. 1,000 cows, a bunch of sheep, like this. And this kid's like, yeah, my dad razzes me a little bit. My siblings are picking up the slack while I'm gone. And I just was like, this guy's, and I took a picture of it. He's in like, jeans and like a black, like button up shirt, collared shirt. And he's got this massive Western, like, belt buckle on this brown belt on his jeans. It was such a Western kid type of thing that I was like, man, this guy's legit going to be a handful to handle in the NHL. And Carroll's might be the pick. Carroll's might be the pick that people are like, this guy is going to be a stud.
Given the thing, how he said he's going back to help out on this farm, it's given me vibes of Brady Martin last year, where he didn't attend a draft because he was helping his family with the farm here in Ontario.
So he was asked if him and his family are going to be in Buffalo for the draft, even though it's like still somewhat decentralized. And he was like, "No, we're going to be back on the farm. There's lots of work to do."
Yeah,
like, it's just like, man, it was just like.
It's great.
Just the work ethic. The work ethic is just
love
what I love.
Stories like that.
So those are the things that like you don't always see or hear unless you're following the guys that are on, boots on the ground. But like those are the observations that I took away. Another one, Juho Piiparinen, like I think he met with 28 teams. So another one that just is certainly an interesting pick if you're looking down the line a little bit, but. Yeah, I mean, all in all, man, it was a good day again. Lots to take away from that. I do think the Leafs go with a defenseman in the second round. Whether they use those 2 picks to move up, I'm not positive, but definitely, I think you'll see Toronto make a second round pick of a defenseman.
2 names that still stand out to me right now, and I don't know if it's going to be a possibility or not, but I think it as like a second and a third. The fact that you said that Timothy Runso, when you sent me that list, that they spoke to Toronto, or he spoke to Toronto, but possibly at another time as well, shows maybe they got a little bit of not inside information, but maybe they like him a little bit more if there was that another meeting prior to the Combine. And given how he was a rookie defender in the WHL and posted up a good number of points, I think that's something that could be, something in their wheelhouse, even though he's an overager. And I mentioned this too, and I'm surprised that I would still probably take him a little bit higher than where he's going to go. Xavier Villeneuve. The fact that he talked to Toronto, there's still the stigma and notion that smaller defenders won't thrive in the NHL. Yeah, he's 5'11". Yeah, he's like 170 or 160, 170. I can't remember. But if he falls out of that first round, I think it's going to be a big mistake. And I think it's going to be even a bigger mistake for every other team if they let him fall to 60, because he's got that Lane Hudson quality-esque to himself.
Big confidence, too. Like, just
exactly
the way he was talking about his game, like, big confidence guy, knows what he needs to work on, knows that there's some gaps in his development. And yeah, I only got in on the last little bit of his interview, but a guy that he draws the ire of a number of teams, I think. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see.
I'm just saying he could be a money pick at 60 if he's there. I would still take him in between that 16 to 22 range.
Yeah.
Because of that upside, because of that mobility, the skill set, the creativity. But man, we're going to be talking. If he falls, we're going to be talking about that. And if the Maple Leafs pick him, that's going to be an absolute money pick. Because if you could at least pair him up with a Ben Danford, Villeneuve on the left, Danford on the right, there's your marquee balanced pairing right there. Hopefully, 100%. If everything works out.
100%. Bill over here saying coach will be named before the draft. Big corpo questions. Bill, what's your insider track here, bud? Like, what do you got for us? You got some juice or what?
Is it Pavelski? Is it Woodcroft? Yeah. Who you got?
What are these big corpo questions that? Is Keith Pelly doing the interviews? Is he doing the interviews? Because if so, I don't know if we're going to get the right coach. Anyways, Gary says STEM questions are a misinformed recruiting and hiring process unless you want them programming a computer. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Gary. I like I said, I think some of these questions are just like more fun, see how they react.
Yeah.
But um, Gary says the Maple Leafs are hosting a draft
There
party,
is a draft
advertising the
party.
first overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
Man, when
They didn't even do that with Matthews.
this is big. This
This
is
is big.
this is a new
Yeah.
adventure, a new journey
This is a
that we're
new
going to be
era.
going on.
This is a new era.
I we should do a live show from the draft party.
Oh man, MLSC, give us creds, man.
I know.
Just this one time.
One time. That's
One
all
time,
we're asking.
MLSC. Come on.
If you're with
pull through.
MLSC right now, Sticks in the Six needs to be doing a live show from
Yes.
from the draft party.
I can guarantee you, we would probably have the best reaction to the selection.
I love the follow up. I don't think they're trading it. Yeah, no.
Hell no.
No, they're not trading
Hell
it.
no.
There's no chance they're trading it. I love that follow up though, Gary. Anyways, last
surprise,
few notes.
they hosted the draft party. We traded the first overall pick.
Yeah,
oh my
could
god,
you
can you imagine that?
How like that like something would go extremely wrong, I think, if that was the case.
Oh, that party would be in shambles.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anyways, before we get to the last few points here, just a quick word from our folks over at DraftKings Sportsbook. It all comes down to this: a best-of-7 battle, and DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sportsbook app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of every series, all in one place with one app.
With DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, that text pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Ontario. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Sportsbook bonus bets expire in 7 days. $50 in predictions dollars issued weekly for 3 weeks expire in 1 year. Redeem one non-withdrawable reward. Availability varies. Predictions offer void in New York. Ends June 28. Terms at dkng.co/audio.
Gary follows it up again, but the insiders. Yes, I know, Gary, the insiders always have us going. Live, pitch it to the unk that get us in Detroit. Sticks in the Six takes Michigan. I love it. Hey, if they have another outdoor game, big house again or something, we got to get Sticks in the Six live there. That would be incredible. It'd be one hell of a show.
Got to make it a Detroit-Toronto game first, though.
We'd have to make like a full like YouTube series about like Sticks in the Six takes Michigan, or
our behind the scenes look of what we do heading to Michigan.
I think we just got a new idea. I think we're going to be going on the road at some point in the next few seasons here. As Sticks in the Six grows, maybe we take each city by storm. Let me sweet talk the family group chat. I love it. I love it, Liv. We appreciate you. you. Okay, last few notes here, guys, before we shut her down for the day. Obviously, the Leafs hired Judd Brackett. Big hiring for the Leafs, of course, with their front office as that continues to grow. I don't know if you have any insight you want to share on that.
Because that was at the same time where they also hired Freddie Hamilton as a chief of staff, right? So hopefully, I was about to say there's a name, but also if this is part of the recruiting process to help Freddie get his brother here to Toronto,
I thought the same thing.
I don't know. Putting the tinfoil hat on just a little bit too much right now, but going back to Judd, he's been one of the most sought after front office names for like an elevated role in the past because of his ability to scout, evaluate talent and everything like that. And he's going to do the exact same thing as the assistant GM to John Chaika. And to be honest, when I first opened up like my phone, saw the news that they hired Judd Brackett, I'm like, this is absolutely a money pick. Yeah. A money selection, money hire because of what he helped build in Minnesota. Because of his experience as a scout, he knows the talent. And now he's going to be doing it kind of like at the pro level where Chaika's going to be asking him the questions. And right now he's going to be pitching the pro players of what he wants to do or what he should offer to try and get and improve this team right now. So the fact that he's already done the scouting at that level, going to that, I'm absolutely all for Brackett being on board with this because I think he's going to be a great asset for the management team and for Chaika going forward because of what he did in the past.
Gary says it's the off season. It's tinfoil hat season is expected.
Year round.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. What was I thinking there?
100%. I actually just ran out of tinfoil. I got to make a new hat. So, anyways, I agree.
Theories are going wild right now.
Yeah. The rumor mill. I agree with you. I think it's huge. I think it's a huge pickup overall for what he's been able to do and what he adds to that organization. I think when you start getting more and more guys in the front office, the way the Leafs have over the last little bit, you start to push kind of like that CEO Keith Pelly out a little bit, which is exactly what the Leafs organization needs to do this season and in future seasons as well. Lastly, though, the Toronto Marlies are headed to the Calder Cup.
Oh man.
Led by Artur Akhtiamov, who I'm a huge fan of.
Oh,
and
he's been lights out, man.
And Easton Cowan. The Cowboy is lighting the lamp game in and game out. And even then, he had one bad play, took responsibility for it.
What does he do?
He goes out there and gets it done.
Scores it again, yeah. That's what you want to see with players right now. That's the accountability we want. And and again, I feel like a lot of players are hard on themselves, and I feel like Easton is the exact same way because you saw post game and how he felt giving up that goal. Mm-hmm. He immediately responded, and that's the thing with him where he's able to shake it off and he's able to come back guns a blazing with that mindset. And I also love the fact that he's just like mixing it up too, like after the whistle. Mm-hmm. This guy doesn't care. He will go in. He will scrap it out. I think there was one play where he
pushed him down by the back of the head.
Yeah, pushed him down at the back of the head. And then all of a sudden he's just standing around waiting to try and find a partner to kind of like dance with or whatever. Couldn't get any takers, but that's the kind of pesky side that the Maple Leafs need. That's the Brendan Hagel. It's the
Wild West, baby, and the Cowboy is out.
Cowboy
is out.
Exactly. The Cowboy's loose. But again, going back to your point about Akhtiamov too, I think he's past Hildeby at this point. I in terms of depth chart, I feel like he's got a little bit more upside. And if the front office is getting calls and they're talking that this guy is legit, you got some decisions to make about Wall and Stolarz right now.
Yeah.
I think you got to move on from Wall. You got to give Hildeby some experience or like give him a longer runway because he's going to require waivers. What's going to happen when Akhtiamov is going to be available? You got to move on from Stolarz. And I think you get more value probably with Wall than you are Stolarz right now. But man, Akhtiamov has been clutch. And in that game where that probably should have been the game winner, and he stretches out, makes that save, and then you see Alex Nylander score the other way moments after. This guy's legit. I think that he is thriving right now, and everyone's going to look to his record in the NHL. Team sucked in front of him. He's getting results right now, and this is going to be a big motivational boost for him. 100%.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's going to be exciting. They're going up against the Chicago Wolves, which is the affiliate team to the Carolina Hurricanes. So we all know there's some strong winning pedigree in that organization as well.
A lot of quality players.
A lot of quality players. It will kick off on Friday at 7:00. So get your socks pulled up and get ready for some Calder Cup hockey. Liv says that NHL rumor season is the time of year where I'm gnawing at the bars of my enclosure. Get me out of here. I agree. Gary finishes up with he gave a Matthew Nyes I wasn't good enough and pulled up his socks.
Yeah,
and that's what you want to see.
Yeah,
that's exactly what you want to see within this organization. I love the feistiness. He showed it at the NHL level. He's leading by example at the AHL level, and with a team that he wasn't with all season long. So that's good to see as well. Anyways, as always, guys, make sure you check out the rest of the shows over at the Hockey Podcast Network. Use code THPN for DraftKings Sportsbook to lay your futures on the. I should say this actually. I used DraftKings earlier in the season, October 22nd. I took a futures out on Vegas to win the Cup at plus 900. So I'm on pace to win 500 if they do win. So, but I said this last week. I think I would trade all of that to watch Marner go down in Game 7. Anyways, With that said, Liv, thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks for joining on. Appreciate that. Yeah.
You have a good rest of your day as well. Don't head out before you hear the closing song here. It's a banger as well. But if you haven't already, make sure you check out the show description for 20% off at BioSteel on any orders online, as well as $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Otherwise, we'll be here next week for episode 240 of the Sticks in the Six podcast. Until next time, we leave you with our good friend and his hit single, Alex Hobson and 25.